Masterclass. I'm Rebecca Fearing, I'm the Membership Marketing Manager for Meet Business Women. It's really nice to see everybody today. I've just got a couple of slides to share myself, and then I'll hand over to Anna, who's with us from Postconsumer, and she'll be able to kick the masterclass off. So just bear with me while I share my screen. So like I said, it's really lovely to have you all here today. Before we do get going, I'd just like to say a big thank you to all of our strategic partners that work with us at Meet Business Women. We couldn't deliver the work that we do without their support, so we're really grateful for that. I'd just like to say thank you to them. So for those of you who are brand new to Meet Business Women, you don't know who we are, and this is your first masterclass. We are the global professional community for women working across the meat industry. Our mission is to drive positive change in the meat industry and provide you with professional development, networking opportunities and mentoring to ensure that your career thrives. And a great example of how we do that is through our monthly masterclasses like the one that you're on today. But as part of your membership, like I said, you've got these masterclasses, but there's much more to the membership of Meet Business Women as well than just the masterclasses. So you've got access to industry resources and exclusive content. You can watch back all of our previous masterclasses as well on demand on our website. As a member, you can become part of our mentoring scheme and to progress your career, so you can become either a mentor or a mentee. And you can also attend our global events with discounted tickets as well. So if you are a member, that's just a reminder of what's included. And if you're not a member, then that just gives you a bit of a snapshot as to what you can access if you'd like to become one. And then just quickly, what's coming up next in the Meet Business Women calendar? If you enjoyed this masterclass, you might want to join another one or come to one of our events. So on the 26th of October, we've got our first face-to-face event for 3 years in Sydney. So for anybody who's based over there, that's a really good opportunity to kind of network and reconnect with the meat industry and find like-minded people over there. I've got some great speakers as well lined up. And the 16th of November, we've got another masterclass on speaking with confidence with a brilliant lady called Michelle Redfern, who does a lot of work with us. So that's the final slide from me. I'll stop sharing my screen now, and I will hand over to Anna for today's masterclass. I'd just like to welcome her and say thanks very much for your time today. And I'll pass over to you. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. I don't know if you see my screen. Yep.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of delay because the system we are using now is in the company is creating this delay. Just if you cannot follow my presentation, just let me know, okay? Shout and I will try to go slower or try to change the speed of the presentation. First of all, let me present myself. I'm Ana Fernandez. I am chemical engineer, and I am almost 63 years old now. Started my career many years ago in doing catalysis research, but 33 years ago I changed the sector, accept a challenge, a good challenge, and moved into the plastic industry. And since then, I have been producing packaging for food. And during those days, I was technical manager and the operation managers in one of the biggest KP plant in Spain, in the north of Spain, and also had two children. Okay, then as my daughter used to say, I am a mother with a factory because I was just dedicated time for building the factory and make the factory grow, but at the same time having two children, that was really tough. And I assume that most of you understand the situation because you are going to be in the same situation that myself, but we did it. And right now, since 2016, I am in charge of innovation of the food packaging division of Klöckner Pentaplast. Now in a more relaxed position because being responsible for almost 500 people is really difficult. But right now in innovation, we are doing things a little bit more relaxed and studying new packaging technologies, new materials, and is a little bit more, I would say, interesting for the end. Just let me introduce the company. If you don't know Klöckner, Klöckner is a, sorry. Okay, it's a little bit slow. Klöckner is a big multinational that was founded in 1965 in Germany. In 97, we entered in the American market, and in 2017, Klöckner Pentaplast acquired Limpac. Probably the people, the ones that are living in or attending from UK, probably you know Limpac more than Klöckner Pentaplast. And right now we are. Let me check. Two divisions. One is the food packaging division, that is the one I belong to. We are producing packaging for meat, for bakery, fruit and produce, and food to go. And we have also a different division that is the pharma and health and specialties, that is doing packaging for pharma, credit cards, labels for bottles and other consumer products also, as well as home and building substrates for construction. Okay. I belong to the food division, and today I'm going to go through the packaging and try to explain why packaging is needed and what are the challenges we are just facing now, because it's been a very challenging time for the plastic, specifically for the plastic packaging for food. I say packaging is needed, and you know that, probably all of you know that around 1,300 million tons of food a year is lost or waste. And this is very important because in the actual situation, or social situation, where a lot of countries with big problems for accessing the right food and safe food, just wasting this amount of tons of food is really a big problem that we have to solve. And it's quite important that we understand that this is just 1/3 of the production in the world. Around 14% of the world food is lost between harvest and the retail sale, and the rest is lost or waste in the retail or at home. And this waste is now going to the landfill and is contributing at between 8 and 10% of the greenhouse gases. When you talk to the people about food losses, most of the consumers don't make the link between food losses and greenhouse gases. And it's quite important that we start to understand that by losing food, we are contributing to one of we have now, that is the global warming. And it's why that right now, if we have a look to the amount of materials by different type of products we are wasting, we have 30% of the cereals, 35% of the fish, for instance, 20% of the milk or similar products, 45% of the fruit and veg. And it is very important, because if we can improve the protection of this food and reduce the waste and loss, we are creating access to food for people that has not access now. And second, we are decreasing the greenhouse emissions and then contributing to the reduction of the global warming. If we go, we have a look to meat. Just in meat, we are losing 20% of the beef meat we are producing in the world. This is equivalent to 75 million of cows. And if we have a look to Europe, where we are now, almost 14% is lost during distribution and consumption at home. And this is very important, because it's there where the packaging has a main impact. And it's why we need to understand that packaging protects all these resources and protects far more resources that it uses. And this is something that we have to start communicating to our customers because it's quite important. 33 years ago, when we started with this company, we were using XPS trays overwrapped with stretched PVC film, and the trays were around 10-12 grams, and we had a kind of shelf life of 3 days. With this type of packaging, we were just having around 15% of waste of all the meat that we were just packaging at that time. After we developed the modified atmosphere, then the packaging weight increased a little bit, but also we increased the shelf life, at least a minimum of 3 days. And of course, reducing the waste down to 12%. That is quite important, and mainly in the type of products we are working now. And afterwards, the vacuum skin pad was developed. Of course, the packaging weight is increasing, but we increase the life of the meat up to 20 days or more, depending on the kind of meat, reducing the waste 3%. Then when we are talking packaging, right now we are very focused in packaging and reducing packaging weight, reducing packaging, plastic packaging. But if you have a look to this, we always have to have in mind that just the most important thing for the packaging is protect the meat or the food that is inside. Then in that case, we can see that we have been increasing the weight of the packaging, but at the same time, we have been decreasing the waste. That is the most important thing. And at the end is the objective of the target the packaging has, and is what we need to work for. Okay, but if you talk to the consumers, the packaging, and mainly the plastic packaging, has a bad consumer perception. If you go and do a survey with the customers, 57% of them think that the packaging is wasteful and is not necessary. And more than 80% packaging is a major environmental problem. And it's something that that we need to understand in order to produce, because we know that packaging is necessary, but we need to understand why the consumer has this bad perception. And when you go and do you ask them why they want plastics, most of them are saying that we have a big problem in marine and soil pollution, and we are just using a lot of resources and wasting energy that we don't need to do. Very little of them answer that the packaging, or think that the packaging decrease the greenhouse gases. No, none of them. They are just looking into the problem we are just watching at TV and in programs, and that the sea is contaminated, we have plastics everywhere, and we have to reduce the plastic. But no one is thinking in the greenhouse gas. And at the end, the conclusion is that, at least mainly in Britain, most of the customers prefer product packaging to be made from recyclable material, reusable, or at least more sustainable packaging. But they are thinking in the images they see in TV or in the media. It's something that we have to educate the final consumer to understand, that the packaging is not just this. Is something that is preventing the food loss, the food waste, and is helping to reduce the greenhouse gases, instead the other way around. Okay? And is why the new legislative framework is being developed. I mean, because there is a big concern in the society against plastic, and is why mainly the European strategy, plastic strategy, was launched in 2018. And at the end, what this strategy is trying to look for is try to create a framework first for trying to organize what the plastic packaging is doing, at least in Europe. I know that now probably you are in territories that are not part in Europe anymore, but I guess that in UK we are still just trying to follow some of these strategies, and at the end you are engaged in the plastic strategy, in the European plastic strategy as well, even though you are not in Europe yet. But anyway, what the European plastic is trying to do is trying to design all the packaging for being reusable or recyclable by 2030. And this is something that is very important, because if you have a look to the value chain of the packaging, the plastic packaging, there are a lot of initiatives that are going to start affecting all of us, not just the polymers, how we use or reuse the packaging, how we waste the packaging, the collection, the sorting, and the recycling. This is a very nice slide, because you see how complex is starting to be the legislative initiative, and is going to affect all the steps in the value chain for the packaging, not just for the packaging, but the plastic packaging, but all the packaging in Europe. If we go directly into the that are affecting the products, most of them are affecting the product. And the most important ones are the recast of the food contact material recycled plastic regulation that has been approved 3 weeks ago. That is the new legislation 1616/2022. The revision of the packaging and the packaging waste directive, that is now a draft, but is going to affect a lot of the materials that we are going to use for food packaging. There are other initiatives about added microplastics, and also a big law that is just considering for which applications we can use the bio-based and biodegradable and compostable plastics. And of course, also the single-use plastic directive that probably most of you already know, that is just trying to reduce the packaging we are using now, and also implement or increase the usage of post-consumer recycling in the food packaging. Then with this, we are going to have a really difficult I would say decade in front of us, because we have to implement of these regulation changes, and it's going to affect the way we treat our food, the way we pack our food, and the type of materials we are using for our food, and at the end is going to restructure all the value chain going forward. If we have a look just to the revision, the packaging and packaging waste directive, there is a big target for reduction, prevention and reduction, and this law is starting to push for reusable packaging. We know that for packaging meat is very difficult to reuse packaging. Why? Because the logistic chain and the way the industry is structured is really difficult for doing reusing. But we are just starting to have a look to specific projects in very specific areas to see if we can start developing packaging that can be reusable. At the same time, this new directive is going to review the definition of recyclable packaging and the design for recycling criteria. Right now, everybody can say my packaging is recyclable. This is not happen going forward, because the legislation is going to be very clear, saying this packaging is recyclable, this packaging is non-recyclable. Also, the requirements for a claim that a pack is compostable are going to be reviewed, and probably the compostable packaging are going to be used or allowed just for very specific applications. And also it's quite important because also the new regulation is going to define how we have to declare the recycled content in a packaging, and also is going to fix recycled content targets in plastic packaging. And for this is in order to comply with all this regulation, you know that Europe has already implemented a kind of tax contribution. Is not a tax, a contribution of 800 euros per ton of plastic put in the market that is paid annually by each member state, but also countries like UK, Spain or Italy are now building taxes on plastic. In UK, it's already into force, and they are paying 200 pounds per ton of plastic packaging that doesn't contain less than 30% of recycled content. In Italy and Spain, the tax is going to be higher. It's going to be 450, and it's going to be paid on the virgin content, not then the recycled content in those countries are going to be higher, in theory higher, in order to don't pay that tax, this tax. And when we have a look to this is why we choose PET as the material of choice. Why? Because right now it's the only plastic, the only polymer that can contain recycled content coming from post-consumer in direct contact with food. It's the only process that has been approved for, or the only material that has been approved for containing plastic, post-consumer recycled. It's safe and durable, has a good barrier, and is very good. The shelf appeal is very good because it's high clarity. PET is the most recycled material, and we have till now we have been having a very good supply stream of post-consumer recycled coming from bottles. This material has the lowest environmental impact when we compare with other materials like pulp, carton, bagasse, or carton PET or carton PE, for instance, that most of the consumer consider that are more sustainable. But if you have a look to the global warming or the carbon footprint of those materials, most of them has a higher carbon footprint. And the paper industry, the carton industry, is starting now to claim that these mixed materials, that carton PE or carton PET, are starting to be a big problem for the recyclability of the carton, because the plastic that they contain. Normally you cannot pack meat or food in a direct in a packaging that is made out of carton or pulp directly, and is why these materials normally are laminated with plastics, and this is creating a lot of problems in the carton industry. You can have a look to, for instance, to this article from D.S. Smith, that the Dirty Dozens, where they are saying that all these products are creating now a big problem. Then is why Klöckner has always decided to stay in PET, because PET is one of the most sustainable material we can use now mainly for meat. That is the product you packaging, I think, packing in your companies. Let me talk a little bit of the recycling infrastructure of PET, because this also has changed in the last years. First of all, I'm going to introduce quite briefly the different recycling technologies. Till now, we have been using mechanical recycling. That is the most extended recycling technology till now, where we collect the product end, the product package, the packaging at the end of the line, and then after collection, sorting, grinding, wash the material, then we can use it again in order to produce new packaging. But there are other technologies that are now being developed, like the mechanical recycling with solvent purification, or chemical recycling with depolymerization or through pyrolysis. Right now, all the material, the PCR material, the post-consumer recycled material we are using in our packaging is coming from mechanical recycling, and chemical is just in the pre-commercial stage. Even though a lot of big companies has been claiming that they are going to invest in big plants, they are now just pilot plants, and the volume that we can get from those materials is really low and at very high cost. Then we foresee for the future the chemical recycling developing further, but so far we can only rely on mechanical recycling. And if you have a look to the mechanical recycling landscape in Europe, this has changed a lot, because till now the PET bottles were the main supply for this material, where the sheet and thermoforms was using the most recycled content. If you have a look to the recycled content in Europe for PET bottles was around between 17 and 20%, while for trays or sheet was around 52%. Then the bottles were creating the waste, and the sheet and thermoforms we were using the recycle in order to do new packaging. Then we are already using material and giving a second life to a material that has been put in the market for the bottles. If you have a look in the total PET on the market now in Europe is 3,600 kilotons of bottles and around 1 million tons of trays. But for out of this volume that is in the market, only a little part, I would say 60% of the bottles and 20% for the trays are collected for recycling. This is a big problem because we are losing 40% of the bottles, 80% of the packaging of the trays that are not even collected. When the final customer is saying, okay, plastic packaging is very bad because it's contaminating the sea and the soil, they don't think that they are not collaborating for the collection. And it's something that we have to understand at the beginning, because right now, just in trays, we are losing 80% of the trays we put in the market don't arrive to a good collection system for recycling. And if we have a look to the next step, only 70% of the bottles and 28% of the trays out of this sorted material are recycle efficiency. At the end, if we have a look to everything, just the flake is available in the market, it's just 45% of the bottles we put in the market, and only 6% of the trays we put in the market. That is a very, very little amount. And it's something that we now have to change. Because why? Because there is a key challenge now facing the recycling market, because the change in lifestyle is requiring more packaging. We know all of that. All the customers are asking for convenience and then requiring more packaging. But at the same time, they prefer packaging made with recyclable materials. And just like as a consequence of that, brands respond with sustainable packaging pledges, and the regulation is getting more demanding on this regard. What is happening now, that the PCR from bottle industry is increasing because the single-use plastic is making the bottles to incorporate more recycled content in them, and the consequence is the high of the price of the recycle is increasing a lot, and the tray business now have two options: or decline the PCR content and then having the risk of not reaching the targets we have already done, or look for alternative sources of PCR of a true closed loop. And is where the recycling of trays is really, really important, because as you have seen in the previous slide, only 6% trays that we put in the market in Europe are collected and recycled. Now we have a big material there that is being sent to landfill. And this is really a problem, but at the same time, it's a good opportunity. If we are able to collect all these trays and reuse them again for doing new trays, we are going to be closing the loop, really, okay? And this is important, and it's why Klöckner Pentaplast has introduced tray-to-tray. The concept of tray-to-tray is using post-consumer recycle coming from trays in order to make new trays. This is really important because all the trays we are going to do with this material are going to be designed for recyclability. I mean, we are not going to put this material in trays that at the end of their life are not recyclable, and they are going to be made with recycled content from bottles and also from trays. Of course, keeping the food safety, because at the end, the final objective for a packaging is to protect the food that is containing. And of course, this is something that not forget about. This closed loop will help you, our customers, brands, retailers, and meat packaging consumers achieve the sustainability goals, because till now we are not conscious that we are using recycled content coming from bottles for doing trays, but the trays are going to the landfill. Then at the end, we are not closing the loop. But if we are able to use this material coming from trays to make new trays, we will be closing the loop really. And then, of course, we are going to be able to achieve our sustainability goals. As much as material we put in the market, much volume of PCR is going to be available for all the industry to use back. And KP is going to be one of the main users for this material. And we have a compromise to collect this material and to use this material in all of our products when it's possible. Of course, for that, we have to work very closely with recyclers and suppliers. And we have created a long-term demand for high quality of flake coming from trays. You have to know that right now all the mechanical recycling of bottles is made in a specific installations that without modification cannot run trays. Then we are working with some of the recyclers in order to modify their recycling installations for being able to to process trays, and collaborating with them in the development of this new recycling adapted for trays. That is quite important. And of course, at the end, we are going to build this industry with all the supply chain, with all the stakeholders. We are collaborating with the waste and collection in order to the trays to be separated from bottles, collaborating with recyclers for them to adapt their lines, and we are just signing long-term contracts for this material for the customers, and with some recyclers. And at the end, we are creating these specific products for the customers, working in the quality assurance of the material, and of course the food contact compliance, in order to have a good material that can be used in a closed loop forever, I will say. This tray-to-tray is going to be available in all PET combinations that at the end of their life are recyclable. They have a third-party traceability certification. We are certifying all of this through Recyclass, mainly through Recyclass in Europe, but we are starting to collaborate also with other companies, certification companies in Australia and also in United States. It's a drop-in solution. Of course, the volume is not very big now because we are developing the supply chain, but it's easy to use this material. It's fully circular. We guarantee the protection of the food. And right now, the maximum content we are going to put is around 30% of post-consumer coming from trays in all of our products. Just having a look to, this is the last step in our history for innovation, because since 2000 we have been consistently developing sustainable packaging. We were moving from XPS, that is considered non-recyclable material, into PET in early 2000. After that, we were incorporating recycled content already in 2004. We developed Elite, that is one of the most successful products in 2013, and right now is quite popular and is helping to have a fully recyclable packaging material. We have launched Infinity, that is a polypropylene foam that is recyclable in order to substitute expanded polystyrene. And we are also developing things like Eternal, that is a material or a product that contains up to 30% of tray-to-tray. And at the same time, we are developing all the leading flexible material to seal those trays in a modified atmosphere. And we are trying to develop monomaterial or material containing recycled content also for the flexibles. And this is important. Some of the case studies that are designed for recycling are, for instance, KP Elite. If you combine KP Elite with FlexiLead EH Plus, you are going to have a full pack designed for recycle, can be made up to 100% recycled content, can contain up to 30% material coming from trays, and the leading film can contain up to 30% post-consumer recycle also. That is important because till now the flexible films are difficult to introduce recycled content in flexible films, but this film can contain up to 30%. That is important mainly in countries where, like UK, where you are paying a tax when the material doesn't contain at least 30% of consumer recycle. Another case, for instance, is the KP Monosil plus FlexiLead TH. These materials have been developed for 4-field seed map applications. The base is a mono-PET fully recyclable material with a specific formulation that is facilitating the sealing, and and at the end the pack has the strongest sealing capability in the market, can contain also tray to tray, and can be combined with a mono PET leading film for medium barrier applications. That I think is important because at the end the full pack is going to be mono PET. And we also have another case, for instance, KP Eternal, that is a mono PET tray that can be combined with polyolefin stretch film, both of them fully recyclable for overwrapping applications. There are companies that are still using this type of packaging method, even though we know that the waste of this packaging method is higher than in modified atmosphere. There are some retailers that prefer to use that because they consider that the customer think that the material or the meat inside is more fresher, and then they are still using these overwrapping applications. And also in American market, these two materials combined can be a good solution for the mother bagging. We can put this material inside a mother bag, and you see that to substitute the product we are using now that are not recyclable. Of course, all of these solutions can contain PCR and can contain tray to tray. All of this strategy is part of our sustainability strategy that has 3 pillars, but I don't know to go through all of them, but I want to just to concentrate in the close the loop. That is the most important for the packaging, apart from work or smarter or act responsibly. But all this sustainability strategy has been developed following the United Nations rules, I will say, or strategy. And in close the loop, that is the objective number 1. We have the use of more recycled material. Right now, we have a 21% of PCR in all material we produce. This percentage low, but if you consider that we are doing a lot of material for packaging, for blisters in pharma and medical devices that cannot contain recycled content yet, is quite important because our protein portfolio, most of them contains more than 70% of post-consumer recycle. That means that we are using more than 10,000 million of bottles every year in order to produce new food trays. That is important. We are using a lot of bottles in order to produce trays. Then we are giving to the bottle a second life, and then we are already recycling this material in a new material that can be used again. Because for that we are going to introduce the tray to tray material, and by the end of 2025 we are going to use at least 15% in all of our protein portfolio. Sorry, 30% in the total packaging we produce, and right now we are using up to 15% in our protein portfolio. That means that we are just using more than 700 million of trays a year into new trays, for producing new trays. And also we have another objective is that make all of our packaging recyclable by 2030. Right now, we have 20% of our packaging portfolio designed to be recyclable. But if we have a look just for the products that we use for protein, more than 70% of our protein portfolio has got an alternative designed for to be recycled. Okay, right now we are selling products or materials that are not designed for be recyclable, but we have in 70%, 75% of the cases with material recycled. This is helping us also to get a good recognition in sustainability. And because we have the EcoVadis sustainability rating gold in 2022, and also in Sustainalytics. With these two recognitions, we can say that we are one of the most sustainable plastic packaging producer in Europe. Of course, we cannot do this alone. We have been collaborating with a lot of organizations in Europe and also in UK and in America and in Australia and New Zealand. And we are part also of the global commitment of the Circular Plastic Alliance, the UK Plastic Plus, and we are collaborating with CFLEX, PETCOR, and other organizations. We cannot move this forward without your collaborations, because you are the final customers of our products, and we have to work all together in order to promote these fully recyclable materials. In order to comply with the targets that we have been given to us through the legislation, and in order to please the final consumers that at the end are asking for more sustainable packaging material made with recycled content. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. I don't know if you have questions.
Thank you, Anna. That was a really great session. If anybody does have any questions, please feel free to turn your camera on and ask Anna, or alternatively put them in the chat as well, so we can see. I've got one question, Anna, if that's okay.
Yep.
Just while people are having maybe a little think. You spoke at the beginning about consumer perceptions of recycled packaging, and I just wondered if you'd had any consumer feedback about tray to tray, and if you had, what was the kind of biggest learning that you took from that consumer feedback?
Okay, we are not still there, you know. Just to go to the feedback of the consumer is a long process, a long journey, because now the first thing we need to do is to involve the packers first, second involve the retailers, and third do this teaching exercise to the final customer. Right now, it's true that a lot of packers that has a closer contact with the final customers are quite interested on that. Why? Because right now, when we explain the project, the final customer understand that we are using this wasted, or the waste coming from trays, to make new trays. And for them it's very interesting, because when you talk to final customers, the first thing they are asking you is a reusable product. But when you ask them, okay, well, reusable is fantastic. I am old enough to remember 50 years ago, we went to the supermarket with just a textile bag, without any plastic or anything. But if we want to come back to that time, convenience is gone. Okay, and if you want to keep the convenience, or have if you want to keep the product food safe and fresh, you need to accept packaging. If you want to have a reusable packaging, you have to compromise, the final customer, you have to compromise to take this pack, come back with the pack in retailer, and we have to collect the pack, wash the pack, and bring the pack again into hygienic conditions, and repack the meat inside and resend this meat into the retailer. We have been doing some exercises, and the carbon footprint of the reusable packaging is massive, because we have to move all this empty packaging all around. And at the end, when you are talking, the fantastic reusable packaging has in most cases, has a higher impact than a pack that can be sent to the waste stream, and we are going to collect the pack and reuse the material again for doing a new pack that is going to be clean and safe. Then when you explain this to the final customer in this way, they say, this is a good one, because the problem is that they don't know what is happening behind them. They think that the reusability is fantastic. They don't think in that you need to transport this empty pack all around in order to it and make it hygienic again. And it's why this solution normally is well accepted, but has to be explained, okay? It's not something that the final customer understand if you don't explain well.
Yeah, thank you. We do have somebody with the hand up, I think. If you've got a question. Is it Shuyan?
Yeah.
Hi.
Yes, I'm Shuyan. Hello, Anna. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, a bit of introduction from myself. I'm from New Zealand. I work for Agri Research. So this is the research institution, and because the time zone at the moment is almost 11 p.m. I'm in my pajamas, so I'm not gonna share my video. So yeah, so roughly across this talk came up with 3 questions. I'm gonna go with one by one. So first thing is, according to your introduction, you were saying the chemical recycle is the main methods. So basically you take like a virgin plastic or virgin PET made tray to collect them and to remolding them into for the second purpose. So that will be, if I understand, this is a one cycle of the reuse. And then you aiming to achieve, is it possible to using that recycled PET tray to reuse again? If that happen, I would like to know what's the lifetime, what's the limit of this cycle? Have you guys ever do a challenge test like that? Or if the quality or the character will be decreasing across the time, still need to introduce the virgin plastic during the manufacture? Yeah.
Okay, this is a good question. As I told, there are 2 kinds of qualities in the recycled PET now. One, the recycled PET coming from bottles that has a superior quality of the recycle coming from trays, okay? For different reasons. Mainly because the tray is made already with recycle coming from bottles. Then we have the recycle coming from bottles into trays, and then now we want to collect these trays in order to do new trays at the end in order to close the circle. You are right. I mean, when we are using this material once and 2 times, and twice and 3 times, then we are losing some properties. Is why I said that our target is not using more than 30%. We have been doing the trial, and we are really sure that 30% of material coming from trays is perfect. The rest can be PCR coming from bottles or virgin material, depending on the price, depending on the availability of the material, the rest. When we are talking about losing qualities, allow me to make you a question. When you buy recycled paper, do you expect the recycled paper to be bright white?
But you considering it used for food packaging, people thinking if that will affecting the food safety at the same time?
Yeah, because we are going through all the decontamination process that are approved in order to use this material back into new food. Okay, we are using exactly the same food decontamination system using with bottles, And then they are going back into new trays. We are doing analysis of NIAS, non-intended other substances, that can come with the tray through the waste stream. And we control this, doing analysis before and then, doing not just migration analysis, that of course we do, but also analyzing the material, trying to understand the NIAS that can come through the waste stream, trying to understand the NIAS that we can generate during the recycling process, and at the end of the day, everything. And to be honest, up to 30%, we always pass. Without any problem, okay? I cannot say more than 30 because I'm not sure, okay? Then right now we are working to start increasing this 30%, but as I explained to you right now, just 6% of the total trays in the market are recycled. Then it's very difficult to get the right material to increase the rate. Right now, 30 is the maximum, and the material is safe, and we have all the certification for that. Yeah.
Okay. A follow-up question about the mono seal you're promoting from your company. Yep. May I know, like, if you compare with other Glad wrap or other similar, is there any price gap, or how expensive or how cheap you can kind of competing in the market?
Okay, the mono seal, well, I am innovation director. I am not sales director, and I never talk prices.
Sure.
But mono seal is more expensive than a mono PET. It's not at the same price. But at the same time, the sealing, the value proposition of this material is that the sealing is better, mainly through contamination. You know that sealing mono PET is very difficult because PET is a very difficult material to seal, to be sealed. Then this mono seal allow you to have a stronger sealing, mainly through contamination. When you are packing chicken, for instance, is really bad. Brie is a bad thing to pack. Very greasy meat is difficult to seal in a mono PET tray, and this mono seal is increasing the sealing of the strength of the sealing, and allow you to go faster in a packing line than with a mono PET tray. It's more expensive, but at the end you compensate the extra cost with having less packs reject at the end of the packaging line, and having a stronger sealing, and running the lines faster.
So that will contribute to maybe further extending the shelf life, the quality of the final product. Sure. Exactly. So it just gave me the idea that such product is more tend to use for premium products, because usually if you selling like for common customer, people already really cautious of the price or the inflation due to current situation. So you were thinking about if those other material can be used for industrial processing, kind of which kind of meat products you would choose for those fancy seal, rather than there will be different chops you use for selling for different markets.
Yeah, I understand you. There is I think we need to think a little bit more wider in this. You need to think that the price of the material is one factor, but if you can come or move from a PTP material, for instance, that is not going to be considered recyclable and is going to pay, at least in Europe, a higher a higher fee that a mono PET or a mono PET, normally at the end, the cost is compensated, okay? You have all the benefits in your packaging lines, and at the end, you are going to pay less fees. I don't know, you told that you are calling from New Zealand. To be honest, I'm not expert in the New Zealand EPR scheme, but in Europe, for instance, all the monomaterial pay, most of the countries are now developing the eco-modulation for the fees, and then monomaterials are going to pay less fees in the EPR scheme than the materials that are complex, that are cheaper at the beginning. They're cheaper, but at the end they pay more taxes or more fees. Then at the end, the cost, more or less in this type of product, I'm saying monosil, is compensated.
Sure, it's very interesting because in New Zealand, definitely something still a little bit behind with all the policy or legislation side of the work.
And it's very difficult. Sorry, go.
It's okay. Continue. You continue.
No, I'm saying that it's very difficult to give you a specific question. A specific answer, because the answer will depend on the situation in every country. Okay. Europe now we are working with a common legislation, but New Zealand or Australia or North America is totally different. And we need to when a customer is asking this question to us, we need to consider the specific country for giving you the specific answer.
Okay, so I have a final question.
Okay, perfect.
So you were saying the legislation, because I'm curious. One of the things gave me the idea recently in Australia, it was a lot of food recall, just because in that food, or most of the recall happened in the beverage, reported with microplastic contamination. So I was thinking, if in Europe, the legislation side start to including microplastic as a food adulterants.
If you remember, I have been quite quick through the legislation part, but we can share the presentation later on. And in the new packaging and packaging waste directive in Europe is having a special chapter, I will say, for microplastics. And there are going to two type of microplastics: the one that we add into the food on purpose, that there are a lot of microplastics that are added into the food, are into the cosmetics on purpose, and the other way around. There is a big study now just collecting all the microplastics coming from in the food packaging, and they are now starting to study the impact on the human health. Most of them, until now, has ended to be, I will say, non-toxic, okay, or kind of, I don't know how to say this in English. Well, there is no big impact in the health, but also the European Union, believe me, is probably the most stronger, is the stronger now legislation in this regard. And they are doing a lot of analysis and doing a lot of exercises. And then we need to understand from what this material is coming from, because these microplastics, because they can be coming from substances where the producer add them intentionally, or in some of the studies have been detecting a lot of microplastics coming from textiles. I think we cannot forget that the industry that contribute the most to the microplastic is the textile industry. But we take the water that is contaminated with textiles and use this water to pack the water inside a bottle or to produce bottles or things like that. Normally, the microplastic coming from packaging are bigger and can be more detectable than the ones coming from textiles, for instance, or tires, because nobody thinks that the most of microplastics are coming from the car industry, from the tires.
Interrupt. This is really great discussion, but I'm just conscious that it's 11 o'clock, so some people might need to drop off.
Yeah.
But if we can, we'll upload this recording to the website and your slides as well, Anna, if that's okay. And then if anybody's got any more kind of detailed, discussions that they want to pick up with you, I'm sure that you'd be happy to talk to them offline, if that's okay.
No problem.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. No, been very interesting. Thank you for count on us for this session, and we will be in contact. For any question, come back to me. I think you have my email in the last slide. Okay.
Yes, and we can share your LinkedIn as well if you're on LinkedIn as well.
I'm not very active in LinkedIn, I have to say.
Okay, then, yeah.
Sorry for that.
No, not at all. Thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next one.